Hi, welcome to Catherine's Corner. Just wanted to tell you a little bit more about communication coaching in case that's something that you might be interested in. So, I don't know if you have any issues around just making conversation in your life, whether that's with friends and family, or new people, or acquaintances, or strangers, but you may have issues around kind of small talk or just asking and answering questions or turn taking, things like that. And I know that some people with neurodivergence might find things like that even more challenging. But yeah, just anyone can have issues around communication. So there's loads of things we can work with in this way, and I can put together a plan of activities to help you along your journey so we can tailor it to you. But there's also set ways of helping with these issues. So we can do maybe starting with goals. So, what is it that you'd like to achieve? So, how would you like your communication and your relationships to be different in the future? And then we might look at specific scenarios that happen in your life and really like analyze kind of what is going on there. And that is something that we explore together and figure out the dynamics of that, what's going on in your thoughts, your emotions, your responses, and how is that all going, and what's working and what is not working. We can look at your relationship with conflict and, is there avoidance of conflict, or are there particular styles where you're more accommodating or people pleasing rather than kind of a more collaborative approach that you might want to work towards. We will look at things like non-violent communication. So how can you approach your conversations in a non-violent way, and kind of try out some examples of that, and how that would actually feel for you in a real life conversation. We could look at relational responsiveness. So, how can we respond instead of reacting? A lot of the time in our conversations, if they get heated or there's a conflict, we might get into a fight or flight situation in our bodies and our nervous systems. We might react out of that, and even out of our trauma if there's something that it reminds us of from the past. So, responsiveness is about really looking at what's going on there and how we can approach responding in a more healthy way. Sometimes there might need to be some trauma work that's actually done as well, so we can stop and we can actually look at treating that, looking at that trauma from maybe an EMDR point of view. So we can do some of that therapy as well if needed in the process. Um, we might want to look at passive aggressiveness and that scale, and how you might want to find your way to something more in the middle in that assertive space. And we can look at scenarios around that as well. Some CBT tools can come in really handy there in terms of our thinking and what's actually going on. And also, yeah, role play in general. So whether it's a small talk conversation that you want to have, whether it's a real difficult conversation that you want to approach and you're worried about that escalating into a difficult conflict, whatever it is, from the kind of really everyday to the really, really challenging kind of relational uh, spaces that you might get into, we can look at your communication and we can look at how we can improve it. And especially if you are neurodivergent, I'm really sympathetic to that, being neurodivergent myself and having some differences in terms of how I relate and communicate. So please do get in touch if this is something that might help you. Take care.